Hey, hello everyone. I hope you can hear me. If you can't see me, I'm just at the bottom of your screen here. Happy to be here once again. My name is Oluwatosin. I lead community here at SwiftXR. So do let us know in the chat if you can hear us, and let us know where you're joining us from as well. So, interestingly, today's workshop session should be fun, especially for those of us that are into education, right? And what we're going to be covering majorly today would be building engaging 3D AR or VR experiences for education, right? So, before we get into all that, I will do a quick introduction of what exactly SwiftXR is. For those of us that are very much new, awesome, thank you very much. Um, we'll do a quick introduction into what exactly SwiftXR is and why SwiftXR. And once we get all that done, we get into pretty much the demo we have for today. So let me just quickly switch over here and we can get started with what SwiftXR is. So just like I said, we'll go through SwiftXR, talk about some good use cases as well, which education is definitely one of them, and we'll get into the live demo. Right. So what exactly is SwiftXR? SwiftXR is a no-code web platform that allows you to create AR VR experiences on the web without having to write any single line of code. So it makes development faster. It's very useful for prototyping as well, right? So which can be very useful, especially in cases where you don't want to go through the route of creating your 3D models, your entire project and application from scratch. Right. So with SwiftXR, you can easily put up your 3D model and publish it on the web so that it can be viewed in either augmented reality or virtual reality within seconds, to be fair. So primary focus is on the non-technical users. So it's primarily to bridge the gap between um, having an idea and actually executing it, especially when it comes to creating web AR and VR experiences, right? And also, our key focus is the ease of use. All you have to do is drag and drop, and with a few tweaks here and there, you have your project up and active that you can share with everyone on the web, right? So, for developers as well, it's a very good web platform for you to quickly iterate and prototype your 3D experiences. And for 3D artists that might want to showcase their 3D models without having the risk of getting it exposed to anyone else, you can publish it on SwiftXR and host it there and share with everyone else. Everyone can see it, but no one has access to it except you. Right. And businesses looking for client engagement, trying to boost their client engagement using 3D models to represent your physical product online is a very good way to boost client engagement as well. Right. So moving on from this, SwiftXR at the moment is currently integrated into multiple web platforms so for ease of use and access. So we are currently on Bubble. We are currently on Shopify and Wix as well, and WordPress. So all this allow you to put in embed 3D models that you can view in AR or VR on your website without necessarily having to completely leave the platform that you're used to, right? So thanks to our Sketchfab integration, we have access, you customers have access to multiple 3D models that you can use within your project. And we also have a feature called Snap, which allows you to generate GIFs and images of your 3D models, which can be used for product showcases, prototyping, designs, and things like that. And say you're looking at having an animated character within on your website, right? Thanks to our Ready Player Me integration as well, you're able to do this and create animated characters on your website, which can be viewed in augmented reality or virtual reality. Right. So moving on from this, here are some core features of the Swift XR platform itself. So we do have plane detection, which allows you to detect surfaces and place 3D models in the real world on those surfaces in AR. Then we have our art 3D viewer as well that allows you showcase your digital art in the real world thanks to augmented reality. And we do have image tracking as well, and so much more. We have face tracking as well. So as we go on, we will be exploring some of these um, features. Right, and not to take too much of our time, let's quickly run through some use cases. We have the real estate use case, site education, right? We have these use cases as well for showcasing properties in real estate, for artwork showcases, and for showcasing your products that you're selling on your website as well. So you can use SwiftXR for that. Just like we mentioned earlier on, we have integrations on platforms like Shopify, Wix, WordPress. So if you're looking at selling your products online, you can create 3D models of them, embed them so your clients can view it in, or your customers can view it in AR even before they purchase these items. Right. So with that being said, um, if we have any questions, please do drop in the comments. We would be happy to hear from you and answer that as well. We would get into kind of like the live demo because today is majorly focused on building engaging 3D AR or VR experiences specifically for education. So that's something which we would be covering today. Right. So let's get into the live demo and get things going. Cool. Alrighty. So first things first, what you want to do is head over to swiftxr.io, right? And we're just going to drop that in the comments as well. Right. And with that, this is where you would get started, obviously. And if you do not have an account, you can sign up. If you do have one already, you can just get started with us. And once we're signed into the hub, right? This is the major place where you'd be interfacing with creating your project and managing your project as well, which is the hub. You can view all your projects in here. So you can see projects that are currently on your device and projects that are currently published as well. Right. So if you move over to the templates, these are different projects that can help you get started quickly. So you have an idea about how you might go about things if you're unsure. And there are different categories there for you. So, say, for example, you're into the furniture industry and you want to showcase your furniture items, you could go for, say, maybe a product customization template that allows you customize your products easily. We'll try some of these things out, right? Say you're into art, right? We have this art gallery exhibit as well as this artwork exhibit. And we do have this educational e-notebook, which is what we would be starting with today. Then we would get into creating one from scratch as well. Right, and we have a couple more templates here, so feel free to go over them. And then we also have our plugins tab here where you can see how you can integrate your project, your SwiftXR projects into any of these platforms. So Canva, Figma for your Snap by SwiftXR. Those are your images and your GIFs that you can use. And that would majorly be for design. And say things like Blender for 3D artists, where you can integrate SwiftXR directly, and that allows you publish your project directly from Blender to the web without any other thing needed, right? And we have platforms like WooCommerce, Bubble, WordPress, Shopify, and Wix, where you can also showcase your um, products in 3D, thanks to all these plugins here. All right, then. So to get things started, if you are going to join me as well, feel free to do that on your end. And if you have any questions, do let me know. So we'll start off with this educational e-notebook template, just to get a feel of what it's like creating educational content using SwiftXR. So let's just call this workshop education project, and let's create our project from that template. All right then. So if we take a good look at this, this is a project that you can publish already. It's already done, but we're going to be creating something like this from scratch. So this talks about like the human anatomy, and then you have a skeleton here, human art here, the cranium here as well. And with this, if you just go over to the preview project button at the top right side of your screen, you can easily see what this project would look like, right, when it's published. So you have a complete page here that talks about the human anatomy, then you have an introduction, then you have the 3D models that can be viewed in AR, and if you set it to be viewed in VR, you can view in VR as well. But for this is set to be shown in AR, which is a much more interesting way to bring items you see on a flat surface on your textbook or your notebooks to life. It's a very, very nice way to do that in education. And generally, things we get to see like this and actually um, just play around with kind of sticks more than just seeing it on a flat surface. There's been a lot of research that's gone seeing how seeing objects in the real world, objects like this in the real world, can really help improve um, the knowledge of these things as well. Right. So all this is here, and we'll just go through how we can recreate something of this nature in a moment. So for us, we'll be creating an educational content around the solar system, which I think is always a very good start and a really, really nice way to introduce people into learning in 3D, right? So we'll try that out. You can preview how it would look like on mobile here as well. Cool. So this is a typical example of what you would have. And once you're done with this, you can always just publish your project. Right. But we will not be publishing this because we do not need this. We'd create ours from scratch. So we can always just head back to the hub here and create a new project. And once again, if you do not need your project, you can always just delete it. If you maybe don't want to publish it, just keep it on your device for now. Just leave it there. That's totally fine. But for me, since it's just a template project, I can always delete it. And for you to delete anything, I would just need to enter my email here just to be sure I do want to delete it. Yep, so that's gone. And now let's create a new project. And this time around, we will be creating our project from scratch. Right, so let's just call this solar system project. Cool. So now we have a pretty empty canvas. So we'll be starting off with this empty canvas to work with. So first things first, let's head over to our components. So here are the building blocks for creating your experience itself, the components, and they're divided into multiple categories for ease of understanding. Right, so under the basic components, you get things like your layouts, texts, links, that's like buttons and images, right? And then you have your 3D components as well. This is where things start to get interesting. So we have a 3D viewer, which allows you to view your objects, your 3D models on the web, right? Then we have the AR, VR, 3D carousel, image tracking, face tracking, the customizable model viewer, 3D text, and indexable 3D viewer as well, which is specifically tailored for developers. Right. Then we have AI here. So say for example, you want to generate artwork using AI. We have a component for that as well. And then we have the AR artwork component, which allows you view your digital images in AR as an artwork. And finally, for the people who might be interested in creating a character, we have the Ready Player Me integration here as well. Right, so beautiful. Let's get into creating a really simple layout to start with. So we could create something as simple as putting in a column here, right? And this column itself will serve as what um, the container for every other thing within our project itself. So within the design tab, we can leave the position as it is. And for the size, set the width to 100%. And for this, we can set this to the view height as well. And we can then just set this to 100. So it takes the entire um, length of the canvas, right? So once we have this, we can start to put things in here one after the other. So we could have in, say, another column here. And within that column itself, we could put in an image here. So by default, you get this SwiftXR image, which is something you can change. And this is just me putting in designs to our project just to get a good feel of what that should look like. And let me just get this out of the way. And I will just drag and drop that picture here. So we have a picture of the solar system. Right, cool. So now that we have that picture there, we can then move on to, uh, and we could just call this solar system, just giving this a title, solar system image, right? Cool. So right now, if we just preview this, what we should have would just be this image. Cool, right? The next thing we will then do is, if you go over to your layers here, you can see how everything is arranged, right? You can easily see how everything is arranged in here. So next thing we'll do is go back here, and under 3D, I would bring in um, an AR component, which is going to be our solar system itself. So if you have a 3D model of your any 3D model that you want to use for your experience, you can just upload it. But if you don't, you can use our SketchUp integration to look for something. And if that's not the case, you can also request a 3D model. And once you do that, you would get the support team will get in touch with you, and you would be able to request for a specific type of 3D model, and that would be made for you. And if you're feeling very adventurous, you can try out our 3D scanning option, which is currently still in beta, but feel free to try out the options we have. More details about this are available within our documentation itself. So let's start off by just searching our 3D asset store. And here we can find a really simple solar system just to get things started. Right. So here we have quite a couple of them. I think I found one that was really interesting. So one thing you also want to keep in mind is the size of your 3D models. Um, Always just keep that in mind as well to ensure you don't have something extremely large. So what we recommend is anything below 100 MB is fine, because once it goes above that, it starts to get heavy, which means your web page might take way too long to respond. So ensure you look for optimized 3D models. And if you still have any questions about this, feel free to reach out to us at support@swiftxr.io, and we would be happy to provide um, support for you when you're working on this as well. All right then. So let's try a few things here. So we would go with something pretty much simple and see what that gives us. So you have like this spinning um, solar system here. And one thing for sure is this is currently animated. So for you to make changes to this, right? If you go over to um, where are you? Yep. If you go over to the general settings and just scroll down, you'd see the animation options here. You can choose to disable animation. You can choose to disable animation, and that way, none of the items here would be animated. So feel free to do that as well, or you can enable it, and everything just goes around and round and round. So feel free to disable that, and you can also feel free to disable the auto rotate option that allows the 3D model rotate by itself, right? So there's that. So we can start by taking a look at some of this here, and yeah, we pretty much have some things that we can work with here, and this could be a good thing to start with, right? So um one thing we can do here as well is within our lighting settings, we can try out different things with the background. For this, we can bring in something known as an HDR, which allows us to change the actual background of this and um, gives us a different color or texture in here. So, say for example, if I just went over to background here and tried to change the background for this, we can easily change this. Since we can change this, then we can decide to add in the HDR as well. So to add in the HDR, just to give it like a space setting, I could just Google and search for custom space HDR and look for one to download. Just a moment, everyone. And just a reminder, if you have any questions at all, please do let us know in the comments. And let me just get this. Okay, that is taking a bit of time just to even get it downloading. Just a moment, everyone. Okay, we have something. Might not be the best, but we do have something. And let me just upload that in here as well. Cool. So if we just go back to our properties here and within the add HDR background image, right, we can then put that in. And let me just get that here for us and go down. That is strange. Just a moment, everyone. Not download that, delete this, and let me just add it in manually. There we go. Yep, it's pretty large at the moment. We just still need to look for something, something much more decent. And let me just set this to 0. Yep, we do have that in here, and we have some of our models. We can see our Earth models here, right? We can start to make changes to that as well. So you can play around with things like the brightness in here, and you can increase the lighting as well, right? And this might not be the best HDR to use in combination with our current 3D models in here. So what I can do is I can just let this go for now while we focus on incoming. I can just let this because that's pretty large. I can just let this go for now while we focus on using this to teach what exactly these guys are. But it's a good thing to know that we can always come back to this and look for something much more suitable to what we need. All right, then. So that there we have. Then the next thing we're going to do is just quickly preview this once again and see what that looks like. Right. So let's quickly take a step back here and just take a look at something. We can quickly go over to our layers here and see where each and everything is. Right. So if we just quickly come back here, we can just say where exactly are you? I can easily do that once again and then just bring in another column here. I see. So for this image itself, we can just quickly go over to the properties here, and within the size, we can let it view. We can switch this to, let me just undo that. That is strange. And let me select the image here, and let's do this. Just a moment. Cool. And let me then bring in our 3D model here. And then just search our 3D store and select that same solar system which we're using, because that one's pretty small compared to the other ones. And we can also change the animation here. So let's stop that. And we just need to fix what exactly is going on with our image in here, especially when we're on PC. Hmm. Yep. And that should do it. So what I'll just need to do here now is instead of using the view height here, I can take out the view height for the image itself and just set that to order and head back to this model viewer itself. And we don't want auto rotate and we don't want animations as well. So we want it to be as it is so that we can properly see it and label them as well. So yep, this should fix it for us. Cool. So now that we have this, what we can then do is we can work on providing a label to each and every one of them, which I think would be the major benefit. Also view it in um, on like how it would view it for the mobile bits as well. And now let's head back to where are you? Our model itself. And one other interesting thing we do have available is a way to label models within your experience itself. So I think that would be the highlight for this. So we can start off with the biggest circle here, or the biggest sphere here rather, which would be the sun. So we can start with the hotspot here and add a new label. And this label here, right, would be our sun, right? Which will be the very first one. Then we will move on to the other small ones, right? So we move on to the next hotspot label, and that would be this guy here, and that would be Mercury, I believe, right? And after Mercury, we can then move on to the next one that we have in here, and we can add that hotspot for it as well, and that would be Venus, I believe, right? And the next would be for Earth. Let's get back in here. And the next would be for Earth. So let's do Earth. Any questions so far in the chat? Let us know. So we have the Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Earth. Cool. So after that, we can move on to the next. And the next should be Mars, I believe. Cool. So let's do Mars, right? And after Mars comes what? Jupiter, right? Yeah, should be Jupiter, right? And we can do Jupiter. There we go. And what's the next thing we have? What comes after Jupiter? Let's see. I think we have an image here. Saturn? That doesn't look like Saturn, to be fair. That looks more like Uranus. And yep, I think we have other 3D models here. Okay, so we can move over here, and this definitely is Saturn. So we can then do Saturn as well. So let's go Saturn. Right? And what else do we have left? Okay, we still have this here and this here as well. So uh, let's go back to our reference images. Then we're sure, if I'm not moving that, yep, we're sure we have Uranus and Neptune. So which comes first? In the chat, let us know if you're with us. I think we should still have another one somewhere. Yeah, cool. All right then. Let's quickly play an animation here and let's see where exactly that one falls. That definitely isn't going to do it. That's way too fast. That is way too fast. All right then. And quickly, let's just fix the labeling for Saturn. If we go over to hotspots and click on set position, we should be able to set the position for Saturn. And just so we're not doing the wrong thing, we'll do Uranus and let's do, and finally, the last but not least, we'll do, what's it called? Neptune. So let's do that as well. Okay. And definitely, we can always increase this to much more detail, better than I would, right? But now that we have this, we can always just test this out. So since you have like the labeling here, you can have all of this here as well. So that way, it can be easily identified. And there are really, really cool things you can do here with like color coding, each and every one of them. So you can start with like the sun itself, right? You can do some really nice color codes here, right? So say for example, the text, you could give it a bit of different color. That might not be the best. Let's keep it at that. Maybe not change the layout as well for that particular one. Maybe for the rest you can, but not for that song. Uh, let's see. Yeah, we might want to keep this as it is. And then because if we're still changing HDR, then this should be the way it is. And then we can quickly generate a bit of a text and add that to our, and let me just do, just a moment, everyone. Okay, there we go. We still all have all of that there. And then we can then just come over here and add in a bit of text. Right, so we can just talk about this, and we can have I do have a bit of text I can put in there, and we can have something like that, and we can format to our own liking. So that way, that should be this, and feel free to change this as you'd wish. Yep, and we have Earth, and then we can get more things, more details in here as well. Right, cool. So once we have all of this, then you can have like a 3D model of it as well. So if we preview this, that is strange. Just a moment. I think I might have done something out of the ordinary here in setting the position and the columns itself. So copy all of this and then just look at what I might have done here. I see. And then one cool thing I can do is bring this in here and then bring the text in here. Let me paste that in and just preview again. Still doesn't seem to fix that. Okay. So what I can do is delete this guy and bring the text in here as well. And let's see. And that's where the preview option comes in. It makes it easier for you to fix little issues like this. And let's head back. And what I'm just going to do here is, for now, which is a pretty hacky way to do things, to be fair. Let me see what that looks like. It is a pretty hacky way to go about it, but definitely with more time and a few adjustments here and there, we can always get something much more preferred, right? So now we have the image, we have the details, then we have our 3D models as well with all the labelings that we need. So once we're pretty much okay with what we have ish, right? And once we're okay with what we have, we can then just hit the publish button. And in publishing this, we can just rename this to our solar system, and we can just test, because this is still pretty much just demoing that, and it's not in the final form yet, but just for prototyping sake, we can have this, right? And immediately you have a couple of options for your project here. So you can easily just open the project in a new tab and take a look at it. And that problem still seems to happen. We still need to take a look at that. But we have our planets here already, right? And we have the labelings for each and every one of them, right? And that makes it easier for people to know what exactly this is. And if you are on your monitor, if you're on your PC, you'd get the AR code that allows you to view the actual objects in your environment in AR already. So feel free to try out this. If you're in the comments, feel free to check out this QR code. It should have um, the option to allow you view this in your environment in AR on your mobile device. And we just shared a link to that as well, which is something we can always improve on as we go on. All right then. If there are any questions at all, please do let us know. And with that said, this is a pretty interesting way to get started with creating educational content and making it easy for people to embed this as well onto your current existing platforms. So, say for example, you have a website where the learning resources are already. If you click on Embed Project here, uh, irrespective of what you've used, you would have used either HTML, if it's a web platform, React, depending on what you've used. We have different integrations for this here. So, depending on what framework you're using for creating custom your custom learning experience, we have different ways for you to embed the project available here for you. So say for example, you built this using say HTML and a few more frameworks together. You can just test this out by going to say like a HTML playground just to see if it works as it should. So within your HTML playground here, we can then just say, go back to our project here and just copy this. And once we copy this, we can then just paste that in here. And once we paste that in here, you can see how we're able to have that entire web page within our platform here. So if this were to be your website, it's as easy as you just copying that link and putting it within your code, especially for people who are working on the web development bits for educational institutions. You can just easily do this and copy and paste it in there. And same goes for all the other ways to embed the project as well. And for more custom things, for example, say you have, let me just click and get started here. Say you have your content hosted on a place like WordPress, right? If you go over to WordPress, we do have um, our plugin there as well that allows you to integrate SwiftXR easily into platforms like that. So if there are any questions at all, once again, don't forget to reach out to us at support@swiftxr.io, and you could join our community over on Discord as well, where you can get to ask us questions directly. You get access to the developers and also to be on the community side. For any support that you might need as well. Right. So there goes one. So quickly before we round up this session, we could try out something in VR as well. So let's create a we could just say VR learning space. So when it comes to a VR learning space as well, a good idea here would be to have something as simple as a museum. That would be an ideal way to go about it. But one thing we would suggest in cases like this would be to have multiple sections of the museum, not the entire 3D model in one, especially if you're doing something custom. Have multiple sections of the museum and get them in as separate 3D models. So that way it is easier to work with. And we don't want something excessively large, but we'll just use this for testing purposes. So say, for example, you have something like this, which is scanned, which might not be the best way to go, but it should definitely still kind of work. Maybe we look for something else, something much more simple. And let's just get that from the 3D store. Let's give it one more search and see if we would find something pretty straightforward. Yep, this could do the trick. So for something like this, go over to the VR editor and click on open VR editor. So within the VR editor here, you can see your custom character, which represents the actual object in relation to the environment itself, right? So definitely this doesn't look this looks really, really large at the moment. So what you can do is you can play around with the scale so it fits the human size, and then move the model around. And once you're comfortable with that, you can save this. And if we preview it, right, let's just preview here and then just click on virtual walkthrough. This is kind of like what we then see within our environment. And if you put on your VR headset while you launch this published project there as well, you would be able to go through it. So this would be more for a learning experience. So say you have artworks on the artworks within the museum as well that you want to go through. You can have that. Say you have things that the students can learn from as well. They can walk around the museum and see. You can have that here as well. All right, then. You want them to visit historical places that have gone in the past. This would be a very, very easy way to set that up as well. Cool. And with that, we've come to the end of today's workshop session. If you do have any questions for us, please always feel free to reach out, and we're more than happy to answer as well. Thank you all so much, and do have a lovely rest of your week, and have a lovely day. Bye, everyone.